and making sure that there are resources there that they can go. Access without the opportunity is sort of void. Okay, so here's how these other states have sort of put this together as a philosophy. Now, I've been talking there about the instructional costs. In fact, from a student's perspective, they face both the tuition and the other directly related expenses of being a student, the cost of attendance, as we talk about it. And the other states have all recognized that it's more than just tuition. It is the full cost of attendance that a student faces that they must face. So what they've tried to do is they've said, in Oregon, I'll use that as an example, is that the student should be the first participant in paying for their education, at least as it's advertised. As a principal beneficiary, every student should be expected to contribute. And they can bring a variety of resources to this. They can bring earnings, they can bring savings, they can bring borrowing, or they can bring their scholarship. If they earn a scholarship, that ought to be just as valuable as if they earned the resources in the way. The second partner in this family is the student's parent or spouse who contribute their share. In Oregon and Minnesota, they use the federal need analysis for determining that. It's a reasonable, not a very good measure, but and some other states use better measures. But the other is to say that the students, before they expect other taxpayers to pay for their children's education, they ought to contribute their share. The third is the model. It takes into account all the federal government's benefits. So it takes in what the federal government is going to provide that student in terms of Pell Grants and tuition tax credit. And then in the Oregon model, they only have the fourth partner. I'm suggesting for California there be a fifth partner. And this is, in their case, that the state grant makes up the remaining distance based on what is called a frugal budget. Trouble is, often the frugal budget is actually less than the institution's budget because many of the institutions charge more tuition than, say, a comparable institution somewhere else would be, and that's how both of these states determine the frugal budget. And that's why I'm arguing that there needs to be the institutions in there as a final actor, and that is when the institution has a budget that exceeds a frugal budget, they have a responsibility for the students with assessed financial need to meet that difference. Now, institutions very frequently will provide a merit scholarship. That's fine. The institutions want to do that to draw some strong students to their institution, and the student ought to be able to include that in the student share. They earned a scholarship, a merit scholarship. But that shouldn't be considered the institution's responsibility to equity and access. That has to come in the form of need-based aid, fill in the gap that is a result of their higher than usual expenses in the model that I'm presenting to you. In other words, the state has really two responsibilities. One is to assure that it's providing some adequate resources to from the state to the institutions for the general support of instruction. And I'm arguing that I don't expect that to substantially increase in the state of California. I do think you need to maintain the levels that you currently have, including the resources that are there from Prop 30. But that additional growth in the system could occur through tuition revenue. But the state also has a responsibility then on the financial aid side to cover the need that exists for students who come from families without resources to send their children to college. Just to give you an idea how this works out, it also varies differently by the cost of the institution. So for example, two-year institution, the student's share in Oregon, the philosophy is that a student ought to be able to provide their share, not the